about 110,000 IDPs that were accommodated in Bavunia, some in Trincomalee, and some in Jaffna. The entire government authorities' capacity on the ground were exhausted. So the international aid agencies and Unhcr stepped up their efforts, but also we were overwhelmed in the process. So I think we are still calling for more resources, more personnel, more supplies, and we're asking also the donors for fresh infusion of cash so that we can handle the current caseload of IDPs, and also we're expecting more to come out of the conflict zone.
Is there a kind of like an amount that you have made the appeal for?
The appeal for Unhcr is $23.5 million.
That is after
we revise our appeal upward to handle the extra number of people who are coming out and their needs as far as shelter, non-food items, and basically the monitoring of their well-being as far as protection monitoring and so on and so forth.
And this your briefing paper that came out of Geneva yesterday, there was a mention that the situation is critical. I mean, can you elaborate on that?
The situation is critical. I think we're starting to get a grip of the situation. It's critical because of the overcrowding of the camps. It's critical because people are lining up literally behind the bulldozers as we are setting up shelters so that they can be accommodated. We still have in Bavunia people are still under tarpaulin and they are not accommodated in proper shelter. So we're still clearing land, we're still leveling, compacting, building roads and facilities, then erecting shelter units so that people can be accommodated.
So how long would it take for these people who came in the last influx and for them to be, at least accommodated in the kind of shelter that Unhcr is looking for?
70% of them have been already accommodated. I'm expecting during the next 5 to 6 days to accommodate the rest of them, provided that we don't have fresh influx from the
But what if there's another kind of sudden breakout like what we saw in...
We called on the government to make, as a contingency, public buildings available. If public buildings are made available, we can accommodate these people temporarily and turn these buildings into transit sites as we continue to work the land and erect shelter and build new camps.
So far public shelter has not been, public buildings have not been made available?
As you know, there were about 16 public buildings that the government made available for the first batch of people that came out. Then there were few public buildings that were made available in Omantai area, but we're asking for more because we're expecting at least 50,000 people to come out from the no-fire zone.
No-fire zone, do you have a time frame for that, for them to come out?
If we've looked at the pattern, either they come, as we have seen the 110,000 exiting at one point, or another scenario is that we have a trickle of 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 a day. Either way, there's an extra number of people, need preparedness and an emergency response, and that has to be put in place.
And also there was a mention of that you heard reports of some of these civilians who were coming out had been assaulted. How true is that?
Well, we are confirming this with the government. We are trying to find the source of it, and we're asking the government to undertake disciplinary action so these things are not repeated. So far, by and large, has been a peaceful operation, but when these kind of incidents surface, it makes us worry. We register our concern. It makes the rest of the international community, and I'm sure the government at the top level, responsible, and it is maybe at the expense of the governments and the country's credibility. So it has to be stopped.
So this, at least, is one incident has been confirmed by Unhcr.
This one incident has been confirmed, and we have others that we're investigating before we bring it to the open. We would rather deal with the government on these issues and see if there is a mechanism in place to really put a lid on this kind of behavior.
And how about, like, you know, I know that UNHCR is present at Omantai where the civilians come through. How about the screening process? Does UNHCR have access to the screening?
I still do not have access to screening, unfortunately, and very soon we will have to really make that a condition for any further engagement with Unhcr as far as the assistance that we're providing and the engagement that we are in.
So how important is access to that screening point for UNHCR?
It is very important. It's part of exercising our protection mandate. We are not just an assistance agency, but we're also a protection agency.
Right. And okay, are you kind of confident that you would get that kind of access?
Well, I'm still in the marches with the government at the highest level, and I hope that I get this screening access. Otherwise, as I said, we are going to be forced to really roll back our involvement.
Right. And now, shifting to the camps, about protection in the camps, let's say, I mean, optimistically, that shelter you can deal with and all that. Beyond that, what do we need to look at? I mean, how about, like, you know, other issues that these people need? Also taking into consideration that they've been fleeing a war for like 13, 14 months, and then this is like probably the first time that they have experienced some kind of relative safety. How important is other issues for them?
They have for sure experienced relative safety. They came in very poor shape. They were exhausted, hungry, dehydrated, with medical problems, some of them, especially the elderly and the children. They need help as far as those who are traumatized. In the camps, we have to continue to provide assistance, not only shelter, water, sanitation, relieving the overcrowding, providing health, and caring for the elderly and those who are in special need, but also to put into account and take into consideration issues as of profound importance to the government of Sri Lanka and the international community, and that is the sexual gender-based violence. And we have to make sure that does not happen. We have to make sure that international standards are adhered to, and also national standards.